You could do anything with your life.
My father told me what it was like before the war. I want my country back.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the Axis powers of America and to the Republic.
The Man in the High Castle Season 1 presents a chilling and intellectually provocative reimagining of history, asking a single haunting question: what if the Axis powers had won World War II? Set in an alternate version of the early 1960s, the season establishes a deeply divided United States, split between the greater Nazi Reich on the East Coast and the Japanese Pacific states on the West Coast, with a tense neutral zone in between. From the very beginning, the atmosphere is heavy with oppression, fear, and quiet rebellion, creating a world that feels disturbingly plausible. The show does not rush its ideas. Instead, it carefully builds a sense of normalcy within this nightmare, showing how ordinary people live, work, and survive under totalitarian rule. At the center of the story is Juliana Crane, a young woman living in Japanese-controlled San Francisco. Her life initially appears modest and restrained, shaped by curfews, cultural domination, and constant surveillance. Everything changes when her sister becomes involved with an underground resistance movement and leaves behind a mysterious film reel. This reel appears to show an alternate reality where the Allies won the war, a concept so dangerous that mere possession of it can result in execution. Juliana's personal grief quickly transforms into a larger journey, pulling her into a web of resistance, secrets, and moral dilemmas that force her to question not only the world she lives in, but the nature of reality itself. Parallel to Juliana's story is Joe Blake, a seemingly ordinary young man from New York who is sent on a mission to deliver a similar film to the neutral zone. Joe's character is intentionally ambiguous in the early episodes, and Season 1 uses this uncertainty to great effect. As his path intersects with Juliana's, the audience is left constantly questioning his true loyalties and motivations. This dual protagonist structure allows the season to explore both sides of the divided America, contrasting the rigid, brutal efficiency of the Nazi-controlled East with the more restrained, yet still authoritarian Japanese rule in the West. One of the most compelling aspects of Season 1 is its portrayal of the Nazi regime in North America. The greater Nazi Reich is depicted as technologically advanced, ruthlessly efficient, and ideologically extreme. The show does not shy away from showing the horrifying consequences of Nazi ideology, including eugenics programs, mass surveillance, and casual cruelty carried out under the guise of order. John Smith, a high-ranking American-born Nazi official, embodies this unsettling reality. As a devoted family man and loyal servant of the Reich, his character challenges simple notions of good and evil, illustrating how ordinary people can become instruments of monstrous systems. In contrast, the Japanese Pacific states offer a different but equally unsettling form of control. While the Japanese authorities often appear more subtle than their Nazi counterparts, their rule is still defined by rigid hierarchy, racial inequality, and constant tension. Trade Minister Nobusuke Tagomi stands out as a deeply complex character within this system. Unlike many others in positions of power, Tagomi is philosophical, introspective, and troubled by the moral weight of his actions. His internal conflict provides a counterbalance to the brutality elsewhere in the season, hinting at the possibility of conscience even within authoritarian structures. The mysterious films serve as the central narrative engine of Season 1. Referred to by the resistance as evidence of another world, these reels depict news footage and moments from a reality where the Allies won the war. The existence of these films destabilizes every faction that learns of them. For the resistance, they are symbols of hope and proof that the current world is not inevitable. For the ruling powers, they represent an existential threat, capable of inspiring rebellion or undermining ideological control. The season carefully avoids fully explaining the origin of the films, instead allowing their mystery to deepen the show's philosophical themes. As the episodes progress, the resistance movement itself is revealed to be fragmented and flawed. Rather than presenting a unified heroic front, Season 1 shows a collection of desperate individuals, conflicting agendas, and morally questionable tactics. This grounded portrayal avoids romanticizing rebellion, and instead highlights the immense risks faced by those who choose to resist. Trust is rare, betrayal is common, and survival often requires compromising one's ideals. Juliana's growing involvement with the resistance forces her to make increasingly difficult choices, blurring the line between victim and participant. The season also devotes significant attention to the personal costs of living under totalitarian rule. Family relationships, romantic connections, and friendships are all strained by fear and secrecy. Characters are constantly aware that a single mistake, an overheard conversation, or a misplaced object could lead to imprisonment or death. This constant tension creates a slow, burning sense of dread that defines the tone of Season 1. Rather than relying on constant action, the show builds suspense through silence, observation, and the ever-present threat of authority. Visually, Season 1 is striking in its reimagining of American cities. Iconic landmarks are transformed with Axis symbolism, creating images that are both fascinating and deeply unsettling. The production design emphasizes order, symmetry, and cold efficiency, particularly in Nazi-controlled areas, while the Japanese Pacific states reflect a blend of American infrastructure and imposed cultural aesthetics. These visual details are not merely decorative, they reinforce the themes of occupation, loss of identity, and cultural domination that run throughout the season. The cast plays a crucial role in grounding the show's ambitious concept. Alexa Davalos brings a quiet intensity to Juliana Crane, portraying her evolution from an ordinary civilian into a reluctant but determined participant in the resistance. Rufus Sewell's performance as John Smith is particularly notable, as he balances authority, vulnerability, and menace in a way that makes the character deeply unsettling. Luke Kleintank's portrayal of Joe Blake thrives on ambiguity, keeping viewers uncertain about his true nature until the later stages of the season. Supporting performances from actors portraying Tagomi, Frank Frink, and other resistance members add emotional depth and moral complexity to the story. Season 1 also explores the idea of destiny versus choice. The film suggests that history could have unfolded differently, raising questions about whether the current world is fixed or can be changed. Characters react to this idea in different ways. Some see hope, others see madness, and some see a tool to be exploited. This philosophical undercurrent elevates the show beyond a simple alternate history thriller, inviting viewers to reflect on the nature of power, freedom, and responsibility. The pacing of the first season is deliberate and methodical. Rather than resolving major conflicts quickly, the narrative focuses on laying a strong foundation for the world and its characters. This approach may feel slow to some viewers, but it allows the themes to resonate more deeply. By the time the season reaches its final episodes, the emotional and ideological stakes are firmly established, setting the stage for larger confrontations in future seasons. The release of Season 1 marked a significant moment for serialized television, particularly in the realm of science fiction and speculative drama. Its willingness to tackle dark subject matter with seriousness and nuance set it apart from more conventional genre offerings. The season's reception was shaped by its bold premise, strong performances, and atmospheric storytelling, establishing it as a thought-provoking series rather than a purely escapist one. The promotional material for Season 1 emphasized its unsettling premise and visual impact, highlighting familiar American imagery transformed by totalitarian symbols. Rather than focusing on spectacle alone, the preview material hinted at the show's deeper questions about reality, resistance, and moral compromise. This approach aligned closely with the tone of the series itself, preparing audiences for a slow, burning, idea-driven narrative. By the end of Season 1, The Man in the High Castle leaves viewers with more questions than answers. The true nature of the films remains unclear. Alliances are uncertain, and the future of the resistance is far from secure. Instead of offering closure, the season concludes by expanding the scope of its mystery, reinforcing the sense that this world is unstable and on the brink of profound change. This open-ended conclusion serves as a powerful invitation to continue the story, while also underscoring the show's central message: history, reality, and power are far more fragile than they appear.